A time was had in Paris. Our women's national team brought back their 8th consecutive gold medal. Just incredible. Congratulations to players, staff, everyone across the board. I had a front row seat.
Look at them behind us.
Oh,
they look so good.
They do look. That's a good looking team.
Yeah, that's a great squad.
Great squad. Yes, absolutely. All right. So, Drea, I know you were glued to the tube. What were your biggest takeaways from watching the Olympic Games?
I think one of the biggest things that I was continuously reminding myself of, especially with this group, was the pressure they had to be feeling with wanting to win an 8th straight gold medal, and that pressure when games started to slip away, how they recovered, how they got back in those games. There were times I was screaming at the TV, but their resilience, the way they found ways to win, even at times when it looked choppy. Now, my biggest concern is how do we find a way to get our U.S. women's national basketball team more chemistry going into Olympic Games? It feels like it's an impossible task because of the WNBA season, because of the way FIBA is set up. I don't know how we get our group more chemistry moving forward, because some of these other teams are out here gunning for that top spot. That last game, the way France looked, there are a lot of competition around the world that have more time together. Rebecca talked about it earlier this week. The other nations have a lot more time together on the court. We've got to figure out a way to not have such a big disadvantage for our squad going into the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely so impressive, was France's commitment across the board to it. Something that I've been having conversations about was the level of physicality. Like sitting front row, sitting there, I could not believe how physical FIBA basketball is. And we've heard this from players over the years, like you're not getting those calls overseas.
Yeah.
And something Diana Taurasi said was that she hopes that players continue to play overseas in the off season because that is going to prepare them for the World Cup, for the Olympics. I don't know if that's the answer necessarily, because I think we're just happy we can keep our players in market now.
Right.
But it was an interesting sentiment.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back and forth because players go overseas and then they're putting more wear and tear on their body. When you think about putting an Olympic team together and then playing in a world championship and playing in different international tournaments, could we get an Olympic team that goes to international tournaments to help prepare them? But then that cuts into some of the WNBA time. So there's a lot that factors into it. But again, my overarching thought was the resilience that this group showed, again, with the least amount of time to get their chemistry together. The resilience and the way they figured it out to win that gold is something that I will always think highly of.
Well, congratulations again to everyone, but you're absolutely right. Some things to think about. All right, coming back stateside, there were some teams that were chilling. Okay, y'all, they weren't chilling. They were practicing, maybe had a little time at the beach. But who benefited most here from the Olympic break?
You know, I'm going to say the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever, when we talk about a team that had a brutal start to the season in terms of their schedule, in terms of back-to-back games, in terms of the amount of games they had to play and the competition that they had to face, and they started to figure it out towards the end of that first half of the season, going into the All-Star break. They were really putting the pieces together around Caitlin Clark, playing with Caitlin Clark, her connection to her teammates. Now I'm watching them during this Olympic break. They're hanging out together. They're playing baseball in their practice arena. They got a lot of time together, I think, to gel a little bit more as a group. Got some time to rest, got some time to get on the court and have more practices. So I anticipate the Fever to possibly come back and make that playoff push even more so, to be solidly in the field for the playoffs.
Yeah, you see there they have the easiest schedule after the All-Star break. And I'm thinking specifically about Caitlin Clark, who has been nonstop since the college women's basketball season. She is the head of the snake. How much better will she be with some time away?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, when you think about Caitlin being able to rest, that was something she talked about before the All-Star game. She was asked about the three-point contest, and she said, I'm going to enjoy resting. I'm going to enjoy watching. And it was so much fun watching her, Angel Reese, the rookies in that All-Star game. We had a time at All-Star. You talk about our break. But speaking of All-Star.
Yeah, speaking of Fever, congratulations. Indiana named host of the 2025 WNBA All-Star Game. First reported by ESPN's Alexa Philippou. Drea, how are we feeling about All-Star and Indy?
I like this. You know what? I'm gonna give a little number here because our researcher Darren found this for me. Shout out to Darren. He's doing a great job. The Fever fans are averaging just under 17,000 fans in attendance at home games. That's nearly 6,000 more than any other team. The next closest team has 6,000 less fans than the Fever. So when we talk about going to Indiana for All-Star, I expect that place to be packed, sold out, and loud for next year's All-Star game.